Hello, I am joined on the Zoom by actor, screenwriter and showrunner Emer Kenny. Emer, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. First of all, though, congratulations on making a tiny human.
Oh, thank you. I've finally got about an hour to myself, so thank you for having me on this podcast so I can push him out of the house and say, leave me alone. I need to do something for me.
Thanks for using your spare time to chat to us. Very appreciate it. How you doing? Are you getting some sleep?
It's ups and downs, as I imagine everyone's experience of this time is. He's 12 weeks, so it's been a roller coaster of emotions and sort of amazing magical moments, and then extremely delirious sleepless freakouts, and I'm currently feeling a little bit like I'm hanging off the edge of a cliff with my fingernails because I'm starting to go back to work a bit. I'm talking to you and kind of venturing back out into the world, and I feel a bit like my brain has been cut in half, and half of it is sort of being held in his sticky little mitts. So if I say anything that just sounds mental, that's my caveat.
It's an excellent caveat. It must be really strange, actually, because obviously your life is so just there and so in your face in all of the glorious mess that comes with being a new mum. But you're talking about stuff in the can ages ago for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember sort of the before times, to talk about them, because pregnancy feels a long time ago and work from before feels a long time ago, but I've got to, so so I will.
Good, right, thank you. A second congratulations, Karen Pirie. Oh man, I love that series so hard. Who knew a hugely underestimated woman proving the bigwigs wrong would resonate so much?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you liked it.
Oh, I loved it. Just for listeners who haven't watched it, one, what the fuck are you doing? Stop listening, go and watch it. Two, you adapted the Val McDermid, Total Goddess, bestseller, The Distant Echo. How did that come about?
I was writing on another show, a Sky show called Save Me 2, the series, second series, which was I loved working on. And the company that made that, they had the rights to Val's book. I think they felt that because the lead character, as you say, is a young, underestimated woman in a man's world, they wanted to see if I liked it, being a sort of young, maybe underestimated woman in a man's world. Although I suppose they were actually, kind of estimating me about right. So they sent it to me, and I read it, and I'd heard a lot about Val. My sister worships her because she's a big crime fan, and I'd actually read Val's book about forensics, which is a non-fiction book, but it's really good. And so I took it on, and about 4 years later, it hit the screens on ITV last year.
It absolutely did. It smashed the screens. It was amazing. Did you know when you were adapting it that you were going to write yourself apart?
No, I kind of can't think like that. Otherwise, I think you'd end up writing either more for yourself or like better lines, and you have to let the story happen as it is. But then when we were casting it and I met Lauren, and me and Lauren, I think our sense of humor has really worked together. And I just kind of felt like, maybe River might be a good one for me to do. So it kind of happened a bit organically, because it's a weird thing to kind of say, how about me for this role? And you have to make sure you're really pitching it right and you're casting yourself for the right reasons rather than just kind of fancying it.
I'm hoping that the success of Karen Pirie, the huge success of Karen Pirie, has made you more assertive. And I say that, listeners, not to patronise Emer, but because in a This Morning interview, you mentioned that actually going in, even though you are this brilliant young creative mind who had written this incredible show, you were too shy to ask for a chair to sit on.
Yeah. On the first day, I remember sitting on the pavement with my iPad and just thinking I should ask for a chair, but I'm too scared in case they think, who the hell is she? So it also was made kind of worse because we were filming it, during the pandemic, and we were all wearing masks. And so I don't think anyone really knew who I was. I think they just thought I was like a random girl. Yeah, it was a real learning curve in terms of confidence for me, because it was on me to go up to someone and say, hi, I'm the executive producer and writer of this. Can I sit near the monitors? I need to see what's going on. But I found that really difficult. I haven't been on a set, yet again to test out my new confidence, but I'm pretty sure it would be different this time.
Oh, I hope so. Well deserved. And I love that about Karen Pirie, the character. I absolutely just fell in love with her because she is certain of her abilities, but not always sure about how to put herself forward. And obviously that changes as it progresses. But also I loved, is she a maverick? No. Is she tortured by inner demons? No. Is she hardworking, funny, flawed, human? Yes. And she understands what being a woman in the world is like right now. And I think, the huge success of it shows how much this kind of show is needed. And, that women watch telly too. I don't know.
I think it was always really hard to explain what my version of Karen would be, because you're trying to illustrate somebody who actually does think that they can do the job deep down, knows that they're smart, but for some reason can't quite necessarily assert herself, even though she's quite a forceful person. And I think a lot of people really relate to, women really relate to that. I always think of my friend Jessie Cave's joke where she says, she says something like, I'm an amazing mix of unbelievable confidence and sort of crushing insecurity, in that I really do believe I'm going to win an Oscar, but I can't walk from the bed to the bathroom completely naked in front of a man. And I feel like that always sums something up, whatever version that is for you, everyone has that, where it's like, I know that I'm capable of incredible things. I'm going to change the world, but also I really can't do this one small thing in front of me. And I think if you can kind of get that into a character, then you understand them as a real human. So that's what I was always trying to do with KP.
Well, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh, thank you.
Also, the addition of the podcast, because obviously Val wrote this book 20 years ago. Oh my God, nearly 20 years ago, right? And podcasts were not a thing. But your addition of the true crime podcast leading to the opening of a cold case is, not to blow more smoke up your arse. I mean, I think there's a lot up there already. I'm fine with it.
Keep blowing it. I love
it. Was real genius. Are you a true crime podcast listener?
Yes, I am. And well, I'm less so now. I think having a baby slightly cracks you open and makes you, well, not everyone, but for me, made me feel like I didn't want the world to be too scary. And so I haven't been able to listen to anything too murdery recently. But I used to be like a real true crime listener, and I used to listen to them on sort of long drives, and often I'd be driving from home to wherever I was filming, and I would be arriving sort of late at night to like a sort of digs that was empty and dark, and I'd be texting my husband saying, I think there probably is somebody who's going to kill me in there, and he'd be like, please stop, please, can you turn off the podcast, this is really affecting your real life now. So yeah, I really wanted to get one in to the show, to root it in the present times, but also because it just feels like a really relevant phenomenon. We're all kind of listening to them, and it would feel weird to do something about a cold case without having a podcast element in this day and age.
The issue with true crime podcasts, there's a reason why we're attracted to them, and it's almost like what you've just said there. In your head, if you listen to that and you're approaching a situation, we go through all the things that we would do differently, maybe, so that it wouldn't be us who is the victim. It's kind of the joy of being objective. But true crime podcasts and this idea that we've got sort of armchair detectives, citizen detectives, who are better than the police. I love that Karen Pirie actually blew that open. It's like, yeah, of course, that woman was like really useful. The podcaster was really useful, but at the same time, a hindrance. And it isn't always helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing I'm always trying to do with writing, particularly when you're writing a show for quite a mainstream channel like ITV or something that you want to reach a really, really big audience. I think you want to examine every kind of argument. And I think that's what I wanted to do around podcasts, is really look into, are they helpful? Are they hindering? And it's always, I mean, with any kind of argument, there's always something on both sides which you can kind of pull out. And the beauty of fiction is that you can pull them out in different characters and have them play out in front of you, rather than me come down and kind of present a show to you as an argument for something or against something. I wanted to show the grey area that we all think we can solve a crime better than the protagonist of a crime show or a podcast. And in some ways, maybe some people can, maybe we can't. And you kind of want to be surprising. So yeah, that was another kind of my goals, trying to hold those things at the same time, those ideas about crime, fiction and fact, I suppose.
And you did reach a huge audience, like 6 million, I think, 6.6 million. And that is just phenomenal in this day and age of everyone watching everything on a million channels. So well done. And it means you've got a second series. And so important. When can I watch it? When can I watch it?
Well, I've started. We're on the road. There was a slight road bump with me having a baby. But it's coming, it's on the way, and Lauren's all ready to do it as soon as I get her some scripts. So yeah, it'll be on screens as soon as we can get it to you.
This is very exciting. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about the other crime in your life. Obsessed with crime, Channel 4's period crime caper, The Curse, which is back for its second series later this month. In case anyone hasn't seen the cracking, very funny first series, could you give us the premise, please?
Okay, so it's set in 1984 in East London, and a group of idiots, and well, played by myself, and the guys from People Just Do Nothing, and Tom Davis from King Gary and Murder is Successful. Basically, my character Tash, who works in a cafe, she convinces her husband, Albert, and her brother, Sydney, and some of their mates to do a robbery on a security depot. And when they rob the security depot, instead of robbing the sort of 50k they were expecting, they accidentally stumble across 30 million in gold bullion. And they're just not smart enough or tough enough to get away with a robbery that big. So they are pounced upon by other criminals and the law, and they get themselves into a real mess. And it's a comedy, so whilst there is quite a bit of drama and murder, mostly they're just being total fools.
Which, I mean, I'm about to tell you that I think like Tash is clearly the brains of the organisation, the operation, and she's also our narrator, which I really enjoyed because there were three really good female characters. There's Tash, there's Ma McTavish, and there's the female police officer who's actually better than the male copper at his job. Yeah. But there's so much resting on your shoulders, right? Yes.
And that continues into the second series, which is about to come out, because they go on the run and Tash kind of starts to feel they might get away with it. And she starts getting quite cocky, and she gets them into even deeper trouble by kind of getting involved with corrupt officials and even bigger criminals. The really fun thing about the second series is it was quite in the first series because, well, I mean, I think because when you're the smartest one in a room full of idiots, it's harder to be funnier because the funny ones are always going to be the stupidest. And in the second series, what we've ended up doing is putting her in a room with people who are much smarter than her and much harder than her, and she's the idiot now. So I get to do some really fun stuff, and loved every minute of it.
I've had a little cheeky sneak peek of the first episode of series 2, and we start off in Spain, and I noticed that about Tash's character straight away. Like she's all like, "Oh, I speak Spanish." No, she doesn't. I love that. I love that because I think, you're clearly having quite a lot of fun with it. Were you actually pregnant when you were filming, or is that just part of the storyline?
Oh yes, I was very pregnant. I was only like legally allowed to film, not legally, but I was insured to, then it wasn't illegal to film. I was only insured to film until I was like 35 weeks pregnant, and I think I filmed up until the day before I was 35 weeks pregnant. So yeah, that bump is real. And we were out in Gran Canaria, it was an amazing experience.
Totally different from filming in the pandemic, I guess, like to have that contrast of it all being free and being abroad.
Yeah, and it was, both series were really different for me because the first series, I was just getting to know the boys, and I was in it, but I wasn't in it so much that I didn't have any free time. And we drank so much tequila and we had so much fun. And then the second series, I had a lot more to do. Tash has a lot more of the story. She sort of carries the kind of main story while all the boys kind of have these hilarious kind of capers around her. And I was really pregnant. And so I just spent a lot of time sort of going home and eating crisps by myself instead of partying with the boys. But I was happy with that, different moment in my life.
Sure. I mean, what I'm going to say, I feel like a real cliche asking it, because I think when you watch a comedy that is genuinely very funny, you can't help but think that the people involved must have had a blast, but also you kind of forget that they were at work. This is work for you. And I know, so this comes with the caveat that I know that you're a consummate professional. But was it hard keeping a straight face around Tom Davis as Mick? Because that voice, man.
I mean, it's always hard. Actually, with all of them, I especially when you have a one-on-one scene with them and you have, because the way that they all work is that, we write the scripts, because I wrote an episode of this one as well. I wrote episode 4. So I was in the writer's room. So we, it's all plotted intricately and every line is thought about. And then when you get to set, it's kind of all thrown up in the air and anything might come out of anyone's mouth. And it's so fun to work that way, but it is also so hard when you first hear a new line and the camera's on you and you're just like, I can't. Your face starts twitching and you just think, can I just hold it together just long enough so they can get the shot of my reaction and then fall apart? But there was one day where Mick is just wearing those Speedos that he wears and he's just riffing around all the other guys by the pool wearing Speedos. And I have to come out and be so angry and sort of bollock them. And he just kept saying to me, Tash, do you want a line of buff? I remember saying, Mick, I'm pregnant. And he lost it and I lost it. And it was just great times.
There was a lovely bit there, listeners, where Emer, as she said, it's so much fun, she put her head in her hands and sort of rubbed her temples.
Yeah, no, and also Sipa, Alan, who plays my husband, Albert, he slightly likes to terrorize people. So his idea of fun is kind of winding you up while it's on your take, and he's hilarious and a nightmare. And he won't mind me saying that because I think he'd be quite proud. So yeah, it's a real experience filming with them, and I love it more than anything else in the world, honestly.
Oh, listeners, if you haven't watched it, it's such a joy. I binge watched the whole first series, which was a great way to watch it. I felt very much back in the 1980s. It was brilliant. Emer, what else are you up to apart from, keeping a tiny human alive and writing the second season of Karen Pirie for me? What else are you up to?
I've got another project that I'm kind of thinking about and plotting out, which is something that I will hopefully write and lead act in as well, because I kind of want to bring those two sides of my work together properly, because I've been doing both of them alongside each other for 15 years now. And I acted a little bit in Karen Pirie and I'm writing a little bit on The Curse, but I think it's time that I sort of put my cards on the table and say, this is what I'm about. So that's my next big project. And I can't say anything about it yet because I actually am not sure quite what it's about. But it's sort of, I like blending genres and doing surprising stuff, comedy meets drama, but also sort of thriller meets rom-com kind of, where I think it's happening a lot more these days, with things like Succession or, The Flight Attendant, or I loved Severance, which was such a kind of quite bleak, serious drama, but had amazing moments of comedy. I think you could tell there was a comedic brain like Ben Stiller behind moments of it. So I want to kind of capture the sort of in-betweenness of those kind of shows in the next thing. And I want to be really ambitious with it and do something quite big. So that's the other thing that I'm kind of plotting alongside Karen Pirie, and hopefully more of The Curse in the future because we've got more stories to tell. And then the tiny human, I guess.
Oh, well, I'm very excited. You threw some big old series titles into the ring there, but, I have absolute faith that you can totally match them, so I'm excited to see what you do. Where can people keep an eye on what you're up to on the socials?
I'm on Instagram, Miss Emer Kenny, and on Twitter, Miss Emer Kenny. And yeah, I'll put it all up there.
More Emer Kenny, please. That's basically what I brought you onto the podcast to request. More Emer Kenny, please.
Oh, that's so nice. And I'll try my best as fast as I can.
No pressure, apart from all of the pressure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.